Welcome back. Today, we're breaking down the Save the Cat beat sheet, and we're using the Hunger Games novel as an example to show you exactly how it works. Let's get into it. In 2005, screenwriter Blake Snyder published a book called Save the Cat, and it quietly became one of the most influential writing guides in Hollywood. He broke down story structure into 15 specific moments he called beats. But here's what's interesting for us as novelists. A writer named Jessica Brody eventually took Snyder's framework and adapted it specifically for book authors in Save the Cat. Writes a novel. And the core logic is identical, because humans are hardwired to enjoy stories that hit certain emotional milestones at certain times. The original beat sheet used page numbers from a 110-page screenplay. In novels, where word counts can range from 50,000 to 100,000 words or more, we use percentages instead. Same beats, same rhythm, just scaled to your book. If you're writing an 80,000-word novel, your catalyst should land around word 8,000, your midpoint at word 40,000, your all is lost at word 60,000. The math is simple. Multiply your total word count by the target percentage, and that's your beat. And where does the name Save the Cat come from? It's a simple principle. Ideally, early in your story, your hero needs to do something that makes the reader root for them. Something likable, something human, something like saving a cat. Because if we don't care about the hero in the first 10%, nothing else will land. Now let's walk through all 15 beats, one by one, using the Hunger Games as our guide. Beat 1, the opening image, the very first pages. In a novel, this is your first chapter, and it does more than start the story. It sets the emotional tone for everything that follows. It's a snapshot of the hero's world before everything changes. Suzanne Collins opens with Katniss waking up on the morning of the reaping. We see her house in District 12. We see her sister Prim. We see the crushing poverty, the hunger, the fear, the weight of daily survival. And we see one thing above all else, Katniss's singular priority, survival. That's it. That's her whole world. In just a few pages, we understand who she is, what she values, and what kind of world she lives in. The opening image doesn't need to be dramatic, it just needs to be true. Beat 2, theme stated. Around the 5% mark, something subtle happens. A character says something, or the hero thinks something, that sounds like simple dialogue, but is actually the entire point of the novel. Katniss's friend Gale suggests they run away and leave the district. Katniss thinks it's absurd. Her whole life has been about survival, playing by the Capitol's rules, keeping her head down, keeping her family alive. But that line, that small, almost throwaway moment, plants the seed of the whole story. Because what Katniss doesn't know yet is that survival won't be enough. To truly win, she'll have to stop playing the Capitol's game and start fighting back. This story isn't about surviving, it's about revolution. The hero never understands the theme when it's first stated. That's the whole point. They'll spend the entire book learning what it actually means. Beat 3, the setup. The first 10% of your novel is about establishing everything: the hero's world, their relationships, their flaws, and, crucially, their stasis death. Stasis death is the idea that even before the story's main problem arrives, something is already wrong. The hero's life is stuck, incomplete. Something needs to change, even if they can't see it yet. For Katniss, that stasis death is her obsession with pure survival at the cost of everything else. She sneaks off to the outskirts of District 12 to hunt with a bow and arrow, technically illegal. She meets Gale. She provides food for her family. She prepares for the reaping. And this section contains her Save the Cat moment. Even though Katniss is tough and guarded, we see her fierce love for her little sister Prim. That love is the crack in her armor. It's the thing that makes us root for her before the real story begins. For novelists, your setup needs to do two things: show us the hero's broken world, and show us the one thing that makes them worth following. Beat 4, the catalyst. Also called the inciting incident. This is the moment that changes everything, done to the hero, not by them. Something that slams the door on the old world and forces the story forward. At the reaping, Prim's name is drawn. Katniss doesn't hesitate. She volunteers as tribute. Everything that comes after, Every page of the novel, every book in the series, flows from this one moment. The catalyst doesn't have to be the most dramatic scene ever written, but it has to be irreversible. Once it happens, there is no going back to the world before. A bonus tip: if your catalyst is landing at 20% or 30%, your readers are already getting restless. They're waiting for the story to start. The catalyst is the starter's pistol. It needs to fire early. Beat 5, the debate. After the catalyst, the hero hesitates. They're scared, unsure, and the reader is asking the same questions the hero is asking. For the Hunger Games, the central question is brutally simple. Can Katniss survive? Can she actually win the Hunger Games? This section covers all the preparation: the goodbyes, the train ride, meeting Haymitch, the early glimpses of the Capitol. But there's a quieter debate happening too. Katniss is not just wondering if she can win, she's wondering who she'll have to become to do it. For novelists, the debate is where your hero's inner life takes center stage. Use it. Novels have access to interiority that screenplays don't. Let the reader inside your hero's head during this stretch of doubt. Beat 6, break into 2. The hero makes a choice, or the world makes the choice for them. Either way, the old world is behind them, and the new one begins. Act 2 starts here. Katniss and Peeta arrive at the Capitol. If District 12 is gray, hungry, and exhausted, the Capitol is its perfect opposite: glamorous, decadent, colorful. The people are gluttonous and oblivious, and Katniss notices it immediately. She is immediately swept into the makeover center, transformed from the girl from the seam into something polished and spectacular. She's not in District 12 anymore. The upside-down world has begun. For novelists, the break into 2 is where your hero stops being reactive and starts being active, even if they don't feel ready. The new world they enter should feel like the opposite of the world they came from. Beat 7, the B story. The B story is a secondary plot, usually a relationship, that runs alongside the main action. But it's more than just a subplot. It carries the theme of your novel. It's the relationship through which your hero will eventually learn the lesson they couldn't hear when it was first stated. In The Hunger Games, the B story is the love story between Katniss and Peeta, and it kicks into full gear on live television when Peeta is interviewed by Caesar Flickerman and publicly confesses his feelings for Katniss. Katniss is furious. She thinks he's made her look weak. She doesn't want to feel anything for Peeta because she knows that once they enter the arena, he'll be her enemy. She'd rather hate him. It's safer. But that's exactly the point. The B story isn't there to be comfortable. It's there to push the hero toward the truth they're avoiding. Because eventually, as all great B stories do, Peeta will teach Katniss the very thing she can't accept yet: that there's more to life than just surviving. For novelists, your B story character is the one who keeps telling your hero the theme in ways they're not ready to hear. This relationship is where the real emotional work of your novel gets done. Beat 8, fun and games. Here's where the novel delivers on its promise. This is the section that made your reader pick up the book in the first place. Snyder called it the promise of the premise. And in a novel, it's the biggest stretch of the book, from around 30% to 50%. This is where the reader gets to experience the world you've built. In The Hunger Games, this is extraordinary. The training, the costumes, Katniss earning an almost unprecedented score of 11 from the game makers. And then, the games themselves begin. This section is dense, propulsive, and relentless, because that's what the promise of the premise demands. A novel called The Hunger Games had better deliver The Hunger Games in this section. For novelists, the fun and games beat is not the time for navel-gazing. It's the time to deliver the spectacle, the tension, the experience that your premise promised. Make the reader feel like they're living in your world. Beat 9, the midpoint. Right at the halfway mark, the story shifts. Everything that came before was setup. Everything that comes after is consequence. Snyder called this either a false victory, where things look great but are about to collapse, or a false defeat, where things look terrible but the hero is actually being set up to rise. For The Hunger Games, it's a false defeat. Katniss is delirious with tracker-jacker venom, hallucinating, about to be hunted down by the career tributes. And then Peeta steps through the trees, armed with a spear. He doesn't use it. He pushes her up and tells her to run. he saves her life. And something shifts in Katniss. The A story and the B story collide for the first time. Maybe Peeta wasn't playing a game. Maybe he really does have feelings for her. But the cruel logic of the games means they both can't win. So what's the point of that realization? The answer, as Katniss will eventually learn, is the theme month. For novelists, the midpoint is your tentpole. It stops your book from sagging in the middle. If you feel lost at the 40% mark, and most novelists do, it's because you don't have a midpoint to write toward. Find it, and the middle of your book will find itself. Beat 10, bad guys close in. After the midpoint, the pressure doubles. External threats tighten. Internal doubts worsen. The hero is being squeezed from all sides. In the Hunger Games, Katniss recovers from the venom and forms an alliance with Rue, the 12-year-old tribute from District 11, who reminds her of Prim. Together, they plan to destroy the Career Alliance's food supply, forcing them to fend for themselves. They execute the plan. Katniss blows up the stockpile, but it costs her. The explosion damages her hearing. She's staggering and vulnerable, and then the bad guys close in from the inside too. Katniss is pulling closer to Rue. She's allowing herself to care, which, in the Hunger Games, is exactly the kind of weakness that gets you killed. For novelists, this section is about sustained pressure. Every chapter should make the hero's situation a little worse, either externally, internally, or both. The reader should feel the walls closing in. Beat 11. All is lost. The lowest point. Something dies here. A person, a dream, a belief. Snyder called it the whiff of death, and he meant it almost literally. Something must be lost that cannot be recovered. Rue is stabbed by a spear, and Katniss sings to her as she dies. It's one of the most devastating moments in the novel, and one of the most important, because it's not just the loss of a friend. It's the loss of Katniss's ability to stay detached. She has let herself love someone in the arena, and it has cost her. For novelists, the all is lost beat is where your reader's heart should break. Don't protect your hero here. Don't soften it. This is the rock bottom that makes the eventual rise meaningful. Beat 12, Dark Night of the Soul. After the all is lost moment, the hero stops moving. They sit in the wreckage. They haven't found the answer yet. They're just feeling the full weight of everything that's happened. Katniss decorates Rue's body with flowers. She receives bread from District 11, Rue's district, as a silent thank you, and she makes a quiet, fierce promise. She will win. For Rue, this section is where novels have an enormous advantage over screenplays, because you're inside your hero's head. You can let the reader experience the grief, the doubt, the slow turning of something inside the hero. The dark night of the soul in a novel can be one of the most powerful things you write. For novelists, don't rush this section. Let your hero sit in the dark long enough for it to mean something when the light comes. Beat 13, break into 3, the aha moment. The hero finally sees what they need to do, and more importantly, who they need to be to do it. Act 3 begins. The game makers announce a rule change. For the first time in the history of the Hunger Games, 2 tributes from the same district can both win. And Katniss, before she can think, before she can calculate, before she can survive, calls out Peeta's name. That instinct reveals everything. She's been telling herself it's all strategy, that she's faking the romance, that survival is all that matters. But that involuntary cry of his name tells her, and us, the truth. For novelists, the break into 3 isn't just about plot, it's about transformation. The hero who enters Act 3 is not the same person who entered Act 2. Something has genuinely changed inside them, and that change is what makes the finale feel earned. Beat 14, the finale. This is the final showdown. The hero faces the antagonist, internal and external, and proves they have changed, not by saying it, by doing it. Katniss and Peeta fight their way through the endgame of the games, and then the game makers revoke the rule change. Only one tribute can win. For a brief moment, Katniss goes back to survival mode, the old logic, the old calculus, but then something snaps. She's done playing the Capitol's game. She and Peeta gather the poisonous berries and prepare to swallow them together, both of them, or neither of them. It's not survival, it's a statement. You don't own us. The game makers stop them just in time. They have both won. And this is the moment the theme becomes fully real. Katniss didn't just survive, she resisted. She chose dignity and love over survival, which is exactly what Peeta told her mattered back in the fun and games section when she didn't understand it yet. For novelists, your finale must pay off everything. Every theme thread, every character arc, every piece of setup. If something was introduced in the first 10%, it should mean something here. Beat 15, the final image, the last page, the last snapshot. And according to Snyder, it must be the opposite of the opening image, the proof that transformation has occurred. Katniss and Peeta stand on the train back to District 12. She joins his hand for the cameras. She still doesn't know what will happen, whether the Capitol will retaliate, whether her feelings for Peeta are real. There's so much she can't resolve yet. But one thing is certain, she is not the girl she was at the start. The girl who only knew how to survive, the girl who played by the Capitol's rules. That girl is gone. She is a rebel now. She didn't choose it, but she became it. For novelists, your final image doesn't need to tie everything up perfectly. It needs to show, not tell, that your hero has changed. Put them in a situation that echoes the opening image and let the contrast do the work. These beats aren't a formula, they're a skeleton. The bones give the body its shape, but you decide everything else. The voice, the texture, the world, the heart. You don't need to follow these beats to the exact point, but Snyder was a big believer in pacing. If your catalyst happens at 40% of your novel instead of 10%, the reader will likely feel the story is dragging or that the story hasn't started yet. While you don't need to hit the exact word count to the digit, these percentages act as gravitational pulls. If you drift too far from them, the narrative tension starts to slacken, and you risk losing your audience's attention. Now it's your turn. Use these beats to structure your next story or novel. If you found this video useful, subscribe. We break down frameworks, writing techniques, and creative tools like this every week. See you in the next one.